All right, folks, welcome to the Corner Store Podcast. My name is Rob. Here we got my boy Phil, and we got Nelly. Say hello to the visitors.
What's good, y'all?
What up?
Yeah, y'all, if y'all stopping by the podcast, feel free to subscribe, like, comment, and share the content. So today is episode 13. Is it 13?
We moving on up, man.
Yeah, moving on up, man.
13, man.
13. Okay. Well, y'all, as far as today, man, this is like exactly 1 week since last week's reckoning. The whole country was literally like rioting, burning, and looting. So like, where are we right now in regards to all of that right now?
Back started.
Because you know what, I have mixed emotions about it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I've been trying to think about it. And today kind of put things in perspective for me. Like I said, we out with the family. I tried to do a little family time today. We went for a little walk, did a little nature walk. And I drove from my side of town, from Halsted, all the way to 29th and Halsted. And I came back. And what I realized is that all areas really got hit, for the most part, but some got hit more than others. But I came back home and I had to get some detergent, which I forgot. Went back to the store back south. Dude, every block, it's like 4 or 5 stores looted. This is back this way, side of town. And it's like, I really get it. Like, I'm mad like everybody else is mad when it came to the whole George Floyd thing. But what I don't understand is like, why do we riot our own neighborhoods? You know, where are you? What? Okay, now what? You know,
That was the number one thing why I was so opposed to it because from the standpoint of, yes, I do understand why everything happened, but as far as Black folks, we never be on code when it comes to something that we could like accomplish something that could kind of be for the greater good. Being that all it took for me was one black business to go down. And then from there, I was like, you know what? Motherfuckers can't stay on code. Niggas can't do shit right. I mean, y'all was onto something. So this is why I can't co-sign that, because all it took was just one black business and then everything just went to shambles.
Yeah.
What you mean by all it took was one black business? What you mean by that?
I'm saying, for me, I do understand the concept of why everybody wanted to riot and loot. But all it took for me, as far as my standard, all it took was for one business to be targeted.
Okay, so because they tore down black businesses, the whole point was lost, is what you're saying.
It tainted the whole rebellion, in my opinion.
And you know what, Rob? I kind of feel the same way. It's because it's like, I mean, listen, we could turn it around and it could be a positive at the end of the day. But what I saw was like even, I just think they should have, I'm not making excuses for like the Targets or the Walmarts and any of that, because they big corporations. They can rebuild.
Right.
But do that where they can afford it the most. You know, the north sides, the downtowns, the west loops. Do that where that they can afford to have the store looted. We can't afford to have store looted over here.
Especially those small mom and pop spots.
They
had no room for error in order for somebody to loot them.
But not even that though, Rob. I just found out today that the Walmart that's on 83rd, they're not even reopening. They're not even reopening the Walmart on 83rd.
I mean, they go so many jobs lost right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And that's what bothers me the most, because the same people, I'm pretty sure that stayed in them neighborhoods are the same people that looted that Walmart. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? And it's like, hold on, Rob. Let me finish. Just hold on for a second. And that's why I feel like this whole movement it's just as it may seem. I think when it comes to Black people, just like everything else that we do, we don't strategize, we don't have a plan, we don't have a focus. We just go out there and we just fuck shit up. And at the end of the day, what do we have left? What's the next plan? Like, since we burned everything down, what's the plan now? Are you going to buy those vacant buildings? Are you going to build them up? Like, what's the plan?
They are going to right now. The property value is so low in our communities. Other people's going to buy the shit up, and they're going to price you, motherfucker. Well, they're going to price us out, us Black folks out.
You motherfucker.
I mean,
you know what? I would include myself in that too. So I don't want to be bogus in and say y'all. So yeah, I would definitely include in that.
Let me ask y'all this. So what Black businesses stand out to you guys as being profitable community business that you know of?
Besides barbershops and phone stores.
Yeah.
You got restaurants.
I can only think of one.
And what's that?
The League's Funeral Home. That's the only one I can think of.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And actually Leagues, they actually do services for free if you can't afford it. I mean, that's a huge benefit for the community right there.
Yeah. That's one.
Okay. Like I said, it only took one Black business for me in order for everything to be tainted.
Well, see, this is my perspective on it. And I know y'all, you think I'm an anarchist. I'm really not. Really not.
Okay.
I don't think to Nelly's point, the looting and the rioting are completely separate from the protesting. They had absolutely nothing to do with the protesting.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Taking advantage of the situation. Now, that being said, if there was a strategy to loot and riot, it could have been done productively. And in that scenario, everything would have been burned to the ground. That would have forced reactions similar to how the riots took place back in the 60s, where there was a response, legal, there was a political and legal response to that rioting. But because these riots were not done with any pure intent, there was no intent behind it. It's just a circumstance of a lot of people being outside and people knowing they could get away with shit. That's basically what these riots were composed of. There was no element of, you know what, want to throw us in jail, fuck it, we're going to burn down the stores. That wasn't the reaction of people. People protested. And, I don't think that there was no purpose to the rioting. But if there was purpose, the object is to make the economy suffer from the action. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think that there were very many profitable Black businesses on the South Side to begin with.
You know what?
Most people can't even afford their houses on the South Side. They can't afford their rent houses or anything. So they were likely just barely making it. They were maintaining. We'll say that. How many black restaurant chains, owned chains are there?
I mean,
think of Harold.
All right. I mean, like Blacks, they probably own individual franchise like stores like McDonald's, Burger King, all type of stuff like that. So yeah.
They don't own the buildings. They just renting these spaces. So when you say Black-owned businesses, you're really meaning Black-owned business names. These places are still in business. They just gotta find somewhere else to go and rent. So they didn't own any of this property. They own none of this shit. They weren't Black-owned properties. They was just Black-owned business. They can go anywhere.
I get you with that, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And it brings me. I'm sorry, Rob, to cut you off, but it brings. I'm glad you brought that up, Phil, because you're right. There's not a lot of Black businesses, real Black businesses, and owned to begin with. And like you said, Phil, if they are, they're probably struggling. Which brings me to this point. I was outside these last 6 days or 7 days because of my job, and I work mostly in a Hispanic neighborhood. And what I seen compared to what people were reporting is two different situations. and let's just talk about the Hispanics for a second. If speaking of like owned, I have a customer who owns 2 mechanic shops on this route. I have customers who own taco stands, tacos restaurants. If you go down 26th Street, you know, go on and on and on. For the most part, all those businesses over there are either family owned, some function, you know. So if to me, their response to the looting was like something that we should have been doing in our own neighborhoods, which means, okay, but listen, we Hispanic owned, you're not gonna tear down our neighborhood. That's not happening. And for the most part, Pilsen, little village is pretty much unscathed. They really didn't get hit because people stood up for their own businesses because they knew that the business was important. And that was kind of disheartening for me that in outside of town is basically, I don't give a fuck if you black or not. I'm tearing this shit down. I'm stealing, you know.
My issue with it was just as many Hispanic people on the South Side tearing our shit down. So I don't support any of that shit that they pull. I mean, technically, to my understanding, that was some gang-related shit that initiated that whole sequence of protecting the neighborhood. I know there's a lot of brown people. I know there's a lot of Hispanic people over there that feel the same fight that we feel, and a lot of people are out there protesting on our behalf. But at the same time, they were perfectly fine with them coming on the South Side, burning and looting Walmart. The same 83rd Walmart you was just talking about was being looted. And DTLR and all those spots on the South Side was being looted, and Hispanic people were running up out of that motherfucker like it was their neighborhood. So, I mean, I don't really support all of that. I mean, we all know that these riots weren't part of the protests.
All right.
Looting wasn't part of the protests. If they felt like they should have stayed there in their neighborhood and not had nothing to do with it.
Right, exactly. I mean, right. Not only it was blacks doing it, it was Hispanics, and also it was white folks doing it as well. I mean, like white folks was mostly living in maybe Hyde Park and definitely in the north side, but they came out to the south side and have tear our shit.
Did Hyde Park get hit hard?
Actually, I don't think Hyde Park got hit. No.
I wonder why.
Hyde Park, but they kept them under control. They didn't nothing get hit. Well, actually, I can't say that. They hit the Walgreens on 47th Street. The Walgreens, that whole center, the Ross, all that shit got hit up over there.
That's one on Lake Park, right?
Yeah, that's like that ain't really Hyde Park, if you ask me, but they say that's Hyde Park. But most
Kenwood. It's like Kenwood.
Yeah, it's really Kenwood, but they say it's Hyde. But like,
you know what?
Like 55th, I don't think nothing like that got hit.
You know what? They did hit up Kenbark though. Kenbark Liquors right on 53rd and
they did. You're right. Yeah, they did.
And Woodline. Yeah.
I think that's black owned though.
Okay.
Yeah, they hit that.
That's black owned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if they hit the restaurant they didn't. I don't think they hit. Well, actually, Leaders, whatever that clothing store was gone from over there anyway. But yeah, I mean, you know, that whole rioting situation, it wasn't planned. It wasn't part of the protest. It was just some bullshit. People took advantage of the situation, and it didn't. It's not going to benefit us. Now, on the flip side, by them tearing down as much as they did, in place of all of those places that they did tear down, the opportunity to, you know, buy land, like you said, is going to be there. But what are people going to do with their money? So these small companies that got insurance payouts, what are they going to do? Are they going to turn back around and invest in their community, or are they going to take their money and run? And then Lori Lightfoot pushing this $10 million out to the communities that, you know, were torn down during this.
Mm-hmm.
What businesses are going to get control of that money? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to be applying for these loans? Who's going to be approving these loans? Or, you know, is it a handout? Is it loan? What's the expectation? I don't know if they rolled that information out yet.
And that's my whole point, Bill. That's my whole point. They're going to throw money in these neighborhoods, and it's going to end up in the hands of somebody that probably don't need it. They're going to buy up this land, and they're going to push this right out. And this is, like you said, but this is totally different from the George Floyd situation, which we're going to talk about in a second. But as far as economically wise, is it smart for a black neighborhood to tear up their own shit? Like you said, okay, like you said, Phil, if it's going to be cheap, then black people should come together, buy up some of this land and build it back up and invest back in this community, like you said.
Right.
I just don't see that happening though. I'm sorry.
If we practice group economics, then yes, it can work out, but we don't do it because as soon as we get our money, it leaves our community literally on the same day that we get paid.
Yeah,
so
that's why I kind of pushed out. I pushed out, the idea to, the few people I associated on Facebook about, pulling all of our monies out of these public banks and pushing money into a singular black bank, with cooperation with the owners, setting expectations about, what we gonna, what our plans are for the bank in order to push money out to the small businesses. But that shit ain't getting no traction. It could be just because people don't fuck with me, but that's what really needs to happen. Oprah would be pushing $12 million.
But you know what though?
Chicago. No, push that shit into a black bank. Let's have a central place where we put our money in and start to invest in our own community. And start moving out the Arabs and the Indians and the Chinese. Get all of that shit out of our neighborhood. If it's burnt down now, let that shit stay burnt down and let somebody replace it with our own business.
It should be for black people, not people of color. It should be specifically for black people only.
I'm with that.
You know what's funny? I agree with that as well. It's funny, Phil, that you said start shopping with the Arabs. So, part of my route, there's a CHA housing authority on like 25th Water Street, really, from the courthouse. There's a CHA housing community over there, which is mostly black people, right? On the corner, Water Street on the corner, there's an Arab that owns a grocery store there. Tell me why he didn't get touched. How do you respect Arab in your neighborhood before you respect anybody else? Yeah, your own people.
And don't get me wrong, man.
Hold on. Don't get me wrong. The guy is very nice.
Right.
He's cool. I have no issues with him. But
why didn't we
tell everybody else? Right. But now we're giving the money, like you said, back to them, and it's going right back to wherever they're going. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's really where the problem lies. I don't have a problem with, people who want to do business with our community, but let them do business with our community from the outside. I mean, if you want something from us, don't just want our money. Come over here and shop with us. Buy shit from us. So it's a fair trade, because otherwise we just get money from wherever we get into and giving it to you. And you're going to take it to your family and do the right thing while we just taking it and buying gym shoes.
Exactly.
So we can't.
And for those who don't know, the Hispanics, they get it, man. They get it. And in my neighborhood that I work at alone, I see at least 3 or 4 corner stores that's owned by all Hispanic families. Name me one grocery store on the South Side that's owned by a black family.
As I keep preaching to like y'all in previous podcasts, just like that, Arab that has that corner store. I mean, basically, as I always going to say, they have a real patriarchy. As far as us, we're not used to seeing real black male leadership.
We don't see any leadership at all.
I mean, we see women as leaders. Unfortunately,
I don't see what leaders do we see.
I'm talking about as far as like you said what?
You talking about head of the household?
No, I mean it don't have to be head of household per se, but okay. So for example, like this whole Black Lives Matter, the whole phenomenon that's going on right now. You have 3 lesbian women that's like the leadership within Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
So like right now, black men are like the face of like police brutality and like, being killed by white vigilantes and like white racist cops, correct?
Yeah, true.
So basically you got Black Lives Matter that's headed by 3 lesbian women, and their number one priority is to get stuff passed for women and the LGBT community. So like when like black men die in the streets like this, literally it's like a bounty on like black men's heads. And then once black men die, then they get so much kickback back into the Black Lives Matter movement. because they're basically getting funded just to kind of like push certain propagandas into our head. So
yeah, I've never been a supporter of Black Lives Movement. A close friend of mine was actually pointing out what you're talking about right now, in a different way, about how the leaders of that organization aren't really pushing towards changing the laws that affect our community most. They focused on other things, and
right,
I felt that right away. I never really supported it because I thought it was divisive in nature. You know what
right.
I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But I mean, ultimately, the black community has no leaders. It hasn't had leaders for Lord knows how long at this point.
I mean, if we do have leaders at this point, they're pretty much compromised. Look at Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
relevant at this point.
right. And like, have y'all ever took the time out just to kind of read the Black Lives Matter mission statement by chance?
It's changed. I know it's the original mission statement. It's not what you read.
No, it's still there right now.
I don't think it's the original one, though.
Oh, okay.
It's
Well,
changed.
if you read it now, it's still kind of stating like the same thing as far as like they want to dismantle the westernized patriarchal nuclear family. They think that cisgender males are like privileged.
Yeah,
I mean
I'm
it's just amazing. You said what?
you and your toxic masculinity.
Ain't nothing toxic about me. I'm just keeping it real. I'm not toxic.
I'm not touching that one. I'm not touching that one.
I mean, I'm not saying nothing controversial. I mean, everything I'm stating is fact, and plus you can look it up yourself.
I mean, as far as leadership in our community, man, I had pushed something else that I pushed before Obama came out and said something. I was saying to everybody, where everybody has such great respect and leaned on Obama as if he was the voice of reason and he was the voice of our people. I don't subscribe to that, but I did put it out there for, why hasn't he spoken out? And he came out and spoke for 1 minute and 27 seconds. And a lot of people were satisfied with that. I was not satisfied with that at all.
You talk about that last stream he had?
He said he was talking about something, some initiative that he pushed out to the mayors or something like that.
Right.
About policing.
Right, but under his watch, he passed that Blue Lives Matter legislation.
Yeah, see,
I thought it was kind of hypocritical. Yeah, he never really addressed that point.
And even how he addressed the circumstances, he was. You don't see any. I didn't feel any emotion from him, any legit emotion. He wasn't compelling to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna say this. As much as I appreciate President Obama for what he did and what he accomplished, if you just comparing like what he done in office compared to what Trump have done in office, call it radical or whatever you want to call what Trump do, I personally see more Trump changing things than Obama did. It could be negative or positive. That's just me personally. You
can actually see what he's fucking up. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think Obama did a good job of what he's supposed to do, but I think things like the Black Lives Matter movement and so forth, it could have been more than what it is. And I think, as to go back to the Black Lives Matter movement for a second, I think that I don't want it to be. To me, the movement seems, I don't want to say generic, but I mean, like, to me, it's bigger than cops.
Right.
Cops
they
killing
they don't have good intentions.
To me, it should be bigger than right. To me, it should be bigger than just marching every time a cop kill a black man.
Right.
I think it should be like we just talked about. It should be more economical driven first, and then let's start changing laws. Because if you look at the economy wise, you got the lobbyists. You got lobbyists that you got to have money to make change and to change laws. Am I saying it right?
Right.
Yeah. So I think you can control your agenda better better if you have the money to control the agenda. Because that's all what the white supremacists, all these other dirty lawmakers are doing. They get money from lobbyists to push their agenda, which they turn into law.
Right.
You know, so I think as much as I support Black Lives Matter, I think that they should have a bigger spectrum, bigger
focus.
way of looking at things. Focus, right?
I mean,
instead of just marching every time somebody get killed by a cop. I mean, I get it, and it's needed as much as it's needed. It's
right.
not. It's, at the end of the day, 6 months from now, I was still gonna be talking about George Floyd. You know,
I mean,
no, we're gonna
6
be
months from now,
shot and killed. That's
it's
all.
gonna be it's gonna be like another high profile case. I mean, as far as me, I support the slogan Black Lives Matter. Yeah, of course, Black Lives Matter too. But as far as the actual Black Lives Matter network, it is totally disingenuous. I mean, they're not for Black lives. They're for like certain Black lives, but not all Black lives.
Right.
That's the major problem I got with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I think, which is a good segue into my next question for you guys, is like, if you can't change it on the ground, how are we going to change these cops and brutality? How are we going to change that? Now, we can march all day, but it's going to take laws to really change the environment that's going on right now. I don't really see that happening, to be honest with you. It's like, I mean, if you look at I'm sorry, Phil. If you look at the landscape of just how many Black men have been killed by cops. Okay, well, the question is this: Do you think change for laws are gonna come about the George Floyd death?
Well, let me ask you this first. In response to your question, if I change a law, does that mean the person that has to respect the law is going to change the way they feel?
You know what? It might not change how they feel, but it
definitely
might give them, but it might give them pause to act on that feeling, if that makes sense.
This is the thing. The law as it stands speaks specifically in the policing code to not discriminate. So if these types of acts are happening under a law that says that police shouldn't be discriminating, then what law is going to go in place that's going to change that? There is no law, because they're acting out of the way they feel. You can change every law in the book. That's not going to make a sociopath not be a sociopath. They're still fucking crazy people.
Right. You got the police unions in cahoots. You got the prosecutors. You got the city councilmen. You got the mayors. You got, governors. I mean, all those people should be held accountable for those cops being out of pocket. So, to me, the law's the law, but people just not doing their jobs at the end of the day.
But to me,
people not doing their job, and you can't make a sociopath not be a sociopath. These people that's out on the street, what the law is, if they're gonna fuck you up, they have the power to do it, then they're gonna do it.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys this question: what makes a police officer, as an employee, any different than me and you? If you screw up on your job, what's the worst that can happen, Rob? Well, in this case,
not happen. Kill 297 people. That's what.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. But cops got a strong union, so it is so hard to
But see, that's
literally get them out. Well, you can get them out the street and get them desk duty, but it's so hard to fire them.
But see that, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because let's look at the last 5-6 cases of cops killing Black people. The most Quan McDonald got cop that shot McCone McDonald got shot to do 16 times. And what was his max sentence? 5, 3, 6 years? Maybe, I think, was the max. So he'd be out in 2 or 3 years at the most. But if we go out and shoot somebody, we get the max. I think that's what you need to start changing the laws. If you put in law to say, okay, as a cop, your job is to serve and protect. If by chance you kill somebody wrongfully in your custody, it should be a maximum sentence of 10 years, at the least 10 years.
Wait, at what? Minimum 2 years? Because you said max 10 years.
Minimum 10 years.
Okay.
Minimum 10 years.
Okay. But yeah. I mean, I definitely
so my thing is, if you're a cop and what you're saying is, say, like you said, Phil, if I don't like you, because you black, okay, I might not like you. But let's just face it, camera phones have changed the game when it comes to all of this stuff now. So you never know who's watching you while you're in the middle of doing what you're doing. So to me, if I'm a dirty cop, I have to think twice now, because if I accidentally shoot somebody and kill them, I'm facing 10 years in prison. I think that's a big deal. Right now, there is they got a safety net. Okay, I'll bite the bullet because I have to. I do my 2 years and then I'm gonna go home.
Right.
What makes you do any different than a man down the street?
Well, see, this is the perspective I know that they will take. They'll say, well, what if I'm in a situation where my life can be compromised and I make the wrong decision and I end up, getting shot, or somebody else gets shot because I didn't shoot? And see, that's where the problem. Because now tell somebody to compromise their own lives in order to keep from killing somebody who may go on to kill somebody else. So they are in a sticky, fucked up situation. Don't get me wrong. I don't agree with the shit that they do, but it is a fucked up situation to be in. If I'm here to stop you from killing somebody else and I kill you on accident, I'm going to go to jail for 10 years knowing that I just stopped you from putting a bullet in somebody else. So that's kind of that's their argument. That's always going to be the.
But see, Phil, the thing was, yeah, you facing no less than 10 years. If you can go to court and you can prove that what you did was justified, then okay. You walk, okay. It is what it is. That's what I'm saying. But if you don't,
I agree. I said the minimum should be 25. So I agree with you. I'm just letting you know what their argument be. They should definitely be held to a higher standard, and it should be standard. It shouldn't be you end up with 2 years. They need to have a specific policing penalty laws. They need to have specific
and plus y'all gotta keep in mind that the cops, they are like in close cahoots with the state's attorneys. I mean, they pretty much work hand in hand. So I mean, that's like a conflict of interest for them to kind of try those same cases as those cop shootings. So that's why a lot of them would just recuse themselves. So but still, you got the police unions donate to their campaign. So that within itself, I mean, it's so hard to get those state attorneys out. But at the same time, most of these shootings are kind of happening in very liberal cities. So non-black people should be just as outraged as we are as far as with these cop killings. So you would think that in a liberal city, that on the next election, that state's attorney should be booted out of office, but it's usually not the case because, maybe non-black people are not as outraged as we are. I mean,
about killing.
Right. As far as making sure that the state's attorney is is right. It's trying those cases in good faith.
Well, I mean, if you look at our own Kim Fox, I mean, she pretty much got her position solidified even after the fuck ups that she's had. And as black people, we typically go with just vote black because we're not really paying attention to what these people are talking about. Just vote.
She's in office just because Alvarez fucked up the McDonald case. Exactly. That's the only reason.
True. That's true. That's true. I think though I think if you're gonna look for an answer of change, I think that's where you start though. I think you start changing laws to not only protect the officers, but I guess protect the citizens as well. Right now, there is no law that really protects citizens from dying. And as sad as it may be, just face it. If there wasn't a phone that was filming the killing of George Floyd, do you think we'd be having a session right now?
No. No.
You see what I'm saying? So cops know that they have a loop, they have some loophole where they can get past if by chance they kill somebody.
I mean, cops always got friends in the courtroom. They always got friends.
You know, like I said, my man shot Laquan McDonald 16 times, and I think he's only gonna probably do 2 or 3 years. To me,
right.
that's criminal. To me, that's not right. You know, but
can't hear you, Phil.
This. You lost Phil?
No, he was trying to say something. He wasn't coming out.
Oh, we lost him.
I guess he come back in. Still no sound.
We still can't hear you. Yeah, I guess Phil picked back up.
I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, you would think that after every election, especially in liberal cities, that these bad state's attorneys, they'll be booted out of office off the jump.
Yeah.
Because they constantly botching these cases. I mean, they like intentionally losing these cases in a courtroom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a cop on trial.
Yep. Yep.
So, and
I just.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Rob.
Oh yeah, and hey, I even told Cassie this. Oh, like if anything was to happen to me, please do not let that lawyer Benjamin Crump represent my family. Please do not let that guy represent my family. He lose all his case. I've never seen him win a case at all, especially a high profile case. I mean, this dude be everywhere when it comes to a cop shooting. Man, what's up with that? Still can't hear you, Phil. You got someone there, Nelly?
You got a point, Rob. You got a point. Like, what is this whole purpose at the end of the day?
I mean,
what is his whole purpose?
You know what? I think his main goal is for the cities to like settle cases. It's instead of really seeking justice.
Well, I mean, listen, because they're probably not going to be. I think this case may be different than the rest. I think they're probably going to make an example out of these officers. I think that it's not going to be the usual slap on the wrist. I think they probably gonna drop the book on them. They probably gonna charge them whatever they need to charge them for.
You know what? I hope so. I hope so. But what brings me to kind of like doubt that whole situation is that for the autopsy, they basically told us that he didn't die from a homicide. He died from drugs and natural causes. So it's a funny business going on right now.
Happen?
Huh?
You think that was gonna happen? You didn't think that was gonna happen? Like, whoever defending these cops, they're gonna try to find whatever dirt they can to save their name. So, to me, it wasn't a surprise that came out. You know?
Right. I mean, we all saw how he died, but the autopsy report says some otherwise.
But the thing was the video was on camera, and they still changed the report. So you only can imagine if the guy never got taped.
Right.
You know,
right.
That's how dirty some of these situations are, and that's why they do it, because they know they can get away with it.
Right.
You know, even with the George Floyd situation, we had a couple other incidents. The one in Atlanta, where the cops used too much force, pulling the kids out the car.
Yeah.
It's like, like Phil said, cops. I think you have to take the emotion out of it at some point, because if you working this job off emotion, easily you can kill somebody without thought.
Right. I totally get it. Like, being a cop is a high stress job. You know, I mean, obviously you want to do your job and like come home to your family. I mean, we all want that. No matter what job you have, what if you're a mailman, a garbage man, you all want to go to work and then come home to your families. I mean, cops shouldn't be the only profession in which that like applies to.
Yeah.
But you know,
I just think, I do. No matter what going on, I do feel like I'm optimistic that change is actually going to happen this time around.
I hope
I think
so.
people are just. I think people are at the point now they just told they really are tired of the treatment that we get. So I think that finally we might get some pushback, you know, and it kind of justified. It's kind of oxymoron that the cops was kneeling, and they crucified Colin Kaepernick for
Yeah.
years for kneeling,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what
A peaceful protest. Yes. Yeah.
and it's kind of ironic 360 that the cop killed somebody by kneeling on his neck.
Y'all hear me now?
Hear you now.
Yeah,
Yep.
we hear you.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Phil.
I'm sorry to say it, Nelly, but yeah, I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I think that unfortunately we are far too passive, the nation. Uh, the people who stand up for the right thing are way more passive than the people who stand up and do the wrong thing. The protesters that were out there, I applaud them for their commitment to walking in the street and waving signs at people, but that ain't gonna do it.
Right.
That cop probably will get charged, but he is gonna. They found a lot of connections between the cops who were present, uh, the guy himself. They have past relationships and all this kind of shit. They determined that to be the case, right?
I
Yeah,
already
but
believe it.
was that like a
I don't really
motive though?
believe it, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know that it's. I don't know that how they're how they're gonna spin it. I know that they're pursuing murder too, which will give him more time if he's convicted. I applaud them for um, getting the other officers charged, even though they physically weren't there, taking part in the action because they stood there and did nothing.
Right.
I appreciate they did that, but it's a whole lot of other cops that, you know, were present when all these types of things happened in the past that never got any slaps on the wrist, and they still out here policing. So
That's why, and that's why I told Rob, Phil, that's why I think that they're going to make an example out of these cops.
they're gonna
Unfortunately,
make an example, but
I
there are
hope
other
so.
cops an example of though. It's not the first cop that'll be made an example of. You just talked about Laquan McDonald. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
I think at this point, man, okay, out of fairness, maybe the cops that stood around don't get 10 years, okay, but it should be none less than 5. And I think the cop that actually killed him should get no less than 10. That's just how I feel. If you're going to make an example out of them, then make it the example. And that would, I think that would at least
Jeff had a
give
14.
other cops, huh?
Blagojevich had a 14-year prison sentence, and he ain't killed not a motherfucker.
Hey, actually, fellas, my fear is that if this case is botched, they already put a black face on it, which is Keith Ellison. He's the attorney general who's going to pretty much head the case. So if anything happens on this case, he's going to be the face of it, which is going to be unfortunate.
Scapegoat.
Yeah.
Y'all chance, and y'all own people couldn't get y'all no justice.
Right. I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, the autopsy probably going to play like a key role in that case because he didn't die from a homicide. According to that, he died from drugs and natural causes.
Well, they did get a second autopsy. The family requested a second autopsy, so that did prove asphyxiation is the reason he was.
Okay, cool.
So
all right.
They had a second autopsy. But
which in that case, then if they could prove that in court against
right, which one are they going to go by? The private one or the county?
You have to go by, but you have to go by the one that the family got because that would prove that the cops had a cause to change they knew that they fucked up, so they wanted to change it, the narrative right there. If that's what you're going off, because
Well,
finding a lot at this point.
The initial autopsy, as I understand it, when it's performed, has different criteria than the autopsy that will be performed by a doctor who specializes in
that. Okay.
So the point would be made that it would be the jury's decision to determine which autopsy is valid to them, and they will never tell you which one is valid because obviously they're jury. So we'll never know whose autopsy really matters.
I mean, since that first one is out there from the get-go, still, I mean, it's still funny business.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The fact that you gonna pull up drugs and well, how come the nigga ain't just walk down the street and died in? He would have been dead already. You can't just say the motherfucker was doing drugs and he had other
freaks. Come on,
man, that's some bullshit.
Come on now, fellas. Don't be stupid. You think crooked cops is gonna lie down and take it? Of course, they're gonna fight for their life. That's what they're gonna do. You know, their life on the line. So whatever they can find, you know, they're gonna do it.
But I mean, ultimately, it's bigger than that case, though. Regardless of what happens, whether these police go to jail or not, we already know if they don't spend any time in jail, people just gonna go back out and protest and burn and fucking.
Oh yeah, everything. Hey, shit is gonna get worse if
right.
if they found out to like be acquitted or just get a slap on the wrist. I mean, shit is gonna burn down like hard.
They
definitely got to get it right because like. I don't see no good outcome coming out of it if they fuck this up. I just don't.
That's why this is an even bigger problem because now the only problem that the country is faced with is getting one decision right. So if they decide to convict this person, then they calm the entire situation, which prepares us for the next one.
Are they willing to sacrifice one of their own, or they're gonna protect them at all costs and just let shit burn down?
Right, of course, they're gonna sacrifice that motherfucker.
We'll see. We will see.
They ain't willing to risk this shit again. Not for another years.
Dude,
they gotta get some time behind.
The man wife. What is his name again? Do you guys know?
Kaufman or something like that.
The cop that. I heard his wife divorced him and everything.
I think that was a strategic move just to kind of make sure that she get all his resources and probably his pension prior to him being tried in court. So,
but in the same,
I didn't think about that one. That's a good. I didn't think about that one.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, if they decide to bring up any of his old situations, she can't. She has to testify against him now.
Well, no, she's married to him. She don't have to.
No, well, she's married. When you're married, you don't have to testify. But if she's divorced,
you're right.
Yes. So
you're right.
I mean, she can plead the fifth.
That shit anyway. He living in Milwaukee. Nobody got no money in Milwaukee. His pension. I don't even think you can collect the pension as a divorcee, can you?
Oh yeah, of course you can.
Spousal support.
Of course you can.
You can't. Okay. All right. Yeah. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Then it definitely was strategic. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be married to a fucking police officer who's internationally known as a black person killer. I don't want to be that motherfucker.
Yeah. That's gonna be kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
So, victim, he go to jail. Whatever happened, he gets swept under the rug, just like the cop who killed Laquan McDonald. So we don't know where he at. They shipped him to Pennsylvania sometime last year. He was in Boston last year too. They lost him for a day. They didn't even know where the hell he was at. So
hell no.
Oh yeah, you knew about that though, right?
No, I never heard about that.
They moved that cop out of Chicago right away. He went to a federal prison somewhere, and then they lost him for a day, just like they lost R. Kelly. And he turned up at another prison, and I think he getting out at the end of this year. But nobody's talking about it anymore. So it's like, okay, if nobody's talking about it, nobody.
Yeah, it's unfortunate,
I
man.
think,
It's unfortunate.
I think, I'm gonna say this, and I gotta go, fellas. But I
Yeah, yeah.
think,
Okay. Last point, and
yeah.
then we can shut down the whole stream.
My question for you guys is this situation the one to change? And if not, what would it take?
I mean, with all the outrage, the rioting, the looting, the video, I mean, everybody in a right mind who saw it, pretty much like on like the right side of like everything that's going on as far as the outrage. So, but I mean, if we can't get a victory on this, then I really don't know what qualifies.
Okay. What about you, Phil? No, he froze up on us.
He just froze up. Oh man, shit.
But you know what though? I speak before we go though. We gotta talk about the Drew Brees situation.
Drew Brees. Drew Brees. Okay. Yeah,
you
go
know
ahead.
what? What's funny about that situation is that to go back to the Kaepernick situation and why Kaepernick was kneeling in the first place, and how everybody made it seem that if you kneeled, that you wasn't patriotic enough, right?
Right.
And I had a conversation with my wife about it, but and this is what and it's funny that this is the response I've been hearing from people. The thing is about the whole flag to begin with, the flag was never for us to begin with. And I think as Black people or minority people in general, the American flag means a lot more to white people than they do Black people any day anyways. When the flag came out, the flag stands for a lot, good and bad. It stands for slavery, for one, 400 years. That same flag was flying while they were enslaving Black people.
Right.
So I don't get when people get so outraged how people disrespecting the flag, which the flag, if you really do your research, the flag has nothing to do with African American people at all. It was built on racism. It was built on discrimination. You know, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that the whole Drew Brees thing kind of happened because it kind of forced people to see, okay, listen, you know, my grandfather was in this, my grandfather was this. And if people did their research, Black men fought in Vietnam too. But guess what? As soon as they was a hero in Vietnam, and as soon as they came out to America, they couldn't even go to a bathroom because you have to be white. So that same flag that Black men was fighting for 50 years ago, 70 years ago, didn't mean shit to them when they came back home.
Yeah, that point was constantly reiterated. I mean, shout out to folks like Shannon Sharp, Steve, Stephen A, Dominique Foxworth. Who else? Oh yeah, I mean, man, hey, all those guys, they actually put him to task, and like they literally didn't like want him to like change the narrative, and that's what Drew Brees wanted to do. I mean, he didn't want to comment on the looting, on the protest. He wanted to bring it all back to the flag and what everything meant to him with his grandfathers. But I mean, we all have our own perception of the flag, so it has nothing to do with the military.
Yeah,
it's all on how you personally think about it.
Yeah, and it goes back to, I think another thing with all this George Floyd thing is happening. I think that it's gonna force white people, as much as they don't want to have a hard conversation with just this whole situation. White privilege has pretty much ran this country since the beginning of time, and you have to learn to. You can't force somebody to feel right about something that means something totally different to them.
All right.
And that's the problem. The flag doesn't mean this is call it what it is. The flag don't really mean shit to Black people because the flag didn't say, like you said. I just said you went to war, and across the country was a hero, a war hero, but you come to the United States, you can't even go inside a building because you're Black, or you can't ride on the front of the bus because you're Black.
You can't get a GI Bill, or you can't get a VA loan. I mean,
exactly.
It was so many things that like Black soldiers missed out on versus what white soldiers were getting.
Exactly. So when Drew Brees said that, it just brought up all those situations. You know, white privilege as we know it, and all because the white man said that we should, quote unquote, protect the flag and appreciate the flag. that's just go back to slavery years. It doesn't.
And I bet none of that ever crossed his mind either. As far as how he felt towards his grandfathers, he never thought about what happened to the black soldiers. I'm sure he had never crossed his mind, ever.
I'm pretty sure. And like I said, he apologized. He apologized, and I appreciate the apology for what it was.
I don't appreciate it because he said the same exact thing as he said in 2016. So that was in his heart. That's what he really meant.
Let me finish. Exactly.
That was my point earlier. You can change a whole lot of laws, but you're not going to change the heart of a person. You can make all the laws you want to. You're not going to change the way a person feels about another person. Yeah. There will always be people who feel like black people are insignificant or less than or just not equal to white people. You know, as long as they're telling their kids that generational change we talked about a lot of times, that's not going to change. You can put laws into place to kind of, make it seem like it's closer or more equal. But ultimately, that's why we need to invest in ourselves and take the power they have over us away from them. And that's an economic change. That's a social change. That's us needing to accept the differences that we have in our own community and be amongst our own people and do amongst our own people.
Now you part of it.
And until we make those changes and they start to value us as a people who have value and value our own lives, right, until that changes, they're going to continue, regardless of whatever laws are in place, to abuse the law in order to benefit themselves in the same way that we should be doing for ourselves. So, yeah, fight the power, get out there and protest, tear and build, burn shit down all you want to. But at the beginning of the next morning, if you're not spending your money with your people, if you're not looking to protect your people, or if you're not working with people who actually want to help you build in your community, then you're just wasting our time. And you're wasting your time.
It's all for nothing. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said, man.
That's it.
Well said. Well, y'all, we're going to close out this episode. Hey, great conversation, y'all. Great conversation. I really enjoyed it. So,
podcast without y'all talking about sports. But y'all stuck Shannon Sharp and all that shit.
We did talk about sports a little bit, so.
Right.
NBA's back, y'all. What, July 31st, right?
Hey, watch party at your crib, Rob.
Watch party? Party via Zoom.
Hey, good conversation. I gotta get out of here, man. Live from Arizona, man. I see y'all back in the shot in a minute.
Hey, get back safe, bro.
Yes,
have a good one.
All right, for sure.
Y'all.
Y'all closing out the episode. If y'all stopping by again, please subscribe, like, comment, and share the content. And this is the Corner Store Podcast, and we're signing off. Have a good night.
Peace out.